4 years ago, Dr. Skinner, the greatest genius in the world, invented a miracle medicine called Hapna. It was the ultimate painkiller that made humans completely immune to any sort of pain, and since it was cheap and had no side effects at all, it instantly conquered the global pharma market. Hapna became the medicine that saved the world, but then one day, Skinner vanished without a trace, and no one knew what he was planning. Unbothered by any of this, 23-year-old Axel Gilbert is currently serving a sentence of 888 years in prison for a whole lot of crimes. He doesn't seem to be bothered by it at all, and one morning as he is doing his regular gymnastics routine, the prison guard tells him that he has a guest. The guard leads Axel to the meeting area, where a middle-aged woman named Hirsch is waiting for him. Axel has never seen her before, so he asks her if she is a lawyer trying to get fame by helping him, or if she is a hitman sent to silence him. Hirsch tells him that she is a bit of both, but that is not important. She tells Axel that she is here to ask a favor of him, and if he agrees to help her, he will be a free man. Axel is curious about what she wants, and Hirsch asks him if he knows about Hapna and Dr. Skinner. She tells him that Skinner vanished 3 years ago, but now he is suddenly back and his single message has sent the world into chaos. Hirsch shows Axel a video that is simultaneously uploaded on every platform in the world, and in that, Skinner declares that if one cannot feel pain, he is basically dead. He calls humanity a dead species because of its dependence on Hapna, and says that he always felt that humans were a terrible species that focused only on short-term gain and destroyed their environment in the process. He declares that humans do not deserve to keep on living and spreading misfortunes wherever they go, and that is why he developed Hapna. Skinner says that Hapna was never just a painkiller. He had specifically engineered it to remain in the human body once it was consumed, and after waiting for 3 years, it would turn into a poison that would kill anyone without fail. There is no way to remove the toxin from the body, and humans will start dying after 30 days. However, before ending his message, Skinner says that he has a cure for Hapna, and if someone can find him within 30 days, humanity can still be saved. This video creates panic and chaos throughout the world, but Axel couldn't care less about it. Hirsch tells him that she knew Skinner personally, and in the past, he was truly a saint. She tells him that the favor she asks of him is to find Skinner, but just then, the prison guard arrives there to take Axel back to his cell as visiting time is over. Axel gets up, pretending to cooperate, but then he suddenly pushes the guard back. The guard draws his gun in response, but Axel uses his acrobatics to disarm, and then knock him down. He then picks up the gun and points it at Hirsch before the rest of the guards can do anything. Using her as a hostage, he gets the guards to take off his handcuffs and then makes a run for it, jumping over delivery robots and avoiding the guards trying to capture him. One guard grabs his legs so Axel throws him 2 stories below, and then climbs up another floor where more cops come to stop him. Axel easily beats them, and then jumps across the railing, going to another part of the prison to escape, but another guard is waiting there for him. The guard presses his throat against the metal railing, but then Axel pulls on his necktie, slamming his head on the metal and escaping. After knocking down a few more guards, Axel climbs up the prison walls and shoots the grills of an air vent to open a path for himself. He reaches the roof of the prison facility using the vents and starts running away. But Hirsch calls her driver Doug to follow him and make sure he is caught. Doug and Hirsch begin chasing after Axel in their high-tech car, and she orders their tech support Elena to keep an eye on all police communication and GPS in case they find Axel before them. In the meantime, chaos begins spreading throughout the world after Skinner's video was revealed. Riots have started in many places with people setting pharma companies on fire because of their anger at Hapna. Even as the US government and all the governments across the world gather their best scientists to analyze Hapna and find a cure. The hope of finding a cure within 30 days remains very faint. All the pharma companies recall Hapna from their outlets, and the global share markets fall terribly, but none of these things concern Axel, who is just chilling on the streets like he didn't just escape from prison. A cop suddenly stops him because of his prison uniform, but Axel just tells him that it is the latest fashion trending amongst youngsters like him. The stupid guy totally believes him, and by the time he gets a report about a prisoner breaking out of jail, Axel is already in a clothing store to get a fresh outfit. Meanwhile, in the city of Babylonia, a high-ranking government official tells Hirsch that they are trying to analyze Hapna, but even the collective efforts of world's best scientists are not enough in front of Skinner's genius. Hirsch says that their only option is to find Skinner, and she has almost assembled her dream team for it. but the last guy is currently on the run. She promises that she will find him by the end of the day, and the official tells her that her team might be humanity's last hope. A few hours later, as Axel is strolling through a railway station, the security cameras identify him as the fugitive, and all the screens immediately display his picture while telling him to surrender. He takes that as a challenge and begins running through the station, dodging the cops and security drones. However, Elena, the tech support, is notified about that, and she immediately contacts the rest of Hirsch's team about Axel's location. As Axel is out parkering away from the station, the biker girl Chris rides towards his location, while Doug goes to pick up Leland, the last member of their team. Axel jumps through buildings and rooftops, dodging and smashing the drones on his way, but Elena predicts place he will go in 5 minutes, and Doug asks Chris to be ready there. He tells her to steer Axel to the north, and tells her that she has the permission to open fire on him, and that is all Chris wants to hear. She waits for Axel to finish showing off his acrobatic skills as he reaches the roof of a building through a construction zone, and as soon as he is in her range, she starts shooting at him. She deliberately misses to make him run away from her to a place where Doug is already waiting for him. Doug tells Leland to support him with a drone and then climbs up a building. Soon, Axel reaches the rooftop of the same building with no place to jump to, and Doug points his gun at him, telling him to stop immediately. Axel puts his hands up and tries provoking him so that they engage in a close-range fight, but Doug already knows about his tactics. He tells Axel that his taunts won't work and asks him to surrender because there is no way out for him now. However, Axel tells him that there is always a way, and then jumps from the roof. Doug panics because he was not expecting that, but then Axel grabs Leland's drone and uses it to land safely on a truck. He gets on the ground without any problem, but just as he is about to escape, Chris calls out to him, clicking his pictures cheerfully. She acts like a fan, saying that he just gave the most impressive Parker performance she has ever seen in her life. She demands a selfie with him, and being a closeted simp, Axel can't say no to her. However, that turns out to be his only mistake as Chris stuns him using her bracelet, and Axel is knocked out cold. When he wakes up the next day, he finds himself in a barber shop with Elena hiding in a corner. Axel is confused about what is happening, but just then, the rest of the group arrives there. The mirror in front of them turns out to be a screen, and through it, Hirsch welcomes Axel to Team Lazarus, the people who are going to save humanity. Axel immediately tries taking off a bracelet on his hand, but Hirsch tells him that he can't take it off as it is a tracker that will let her know where he is at all times. Axel takes a quick look around the room and finds that everyone has a similar bracelet. He realizes that everyone here is some sort of troublemaker, and Hirsch tells him that this is their golden chance to turn from fugitives into heroes. She asks Axel if he doesn't want to be a free man and live however he wants. In response, he just does a handstand to surprise everyone and then jumps towards Chris, stealing her gun before she can realize it. He points it at her head and tells Hirsch to get the bracelet off his hand if she values her team. However, Hirsch is not falling for his tricks again, and she shocks him using the bracelet, making him drop his gun. She then warns Axel that if he tries to remove the bracelet forcefully, it will heat so much that his arm will burn. Also, if something happens to her, all of them are going to suffer the same thing. Axel realizes that she is not bluffing, so he quickly agrees to work with her, and Hirsch is pleased to hear that. She ends the video call from her end, and then Axel says that if they find Skinner, they should sell the vaccine for Hapna for a very high price. Chris agrees with him immediately, but Doe shoots down the idea, saying that they are not here for personal gains, but to save the world. Axel replies that being this timeline's version of Avengers isn't bad either, but before starting, he asks if anyone in the team has ever used Hapna. Turns out all of them used it, either as a medicine or to get high. After that, Doe shows Axel around their base, clearly telling him that he doesn't approve of him. Axel doesn't care about that, but he cares that despite being this world's Avengers, their base is a rundown barber shop. However, he soon finds that the rundown appearance of the shop is just a disguise, and it is protected by a powerful electromagnetic barrier. Next, Doug takes him to their garage to show the way to take out their cars, and then they return to do their first team briefing. There, Doug tells everyone about Skinner's life history from his birth to college life, but Chris interrupts him because she thinks that is the boring part. She asks Doug about Skinner's personality because that will help them find more about him than the useless trivia. Doug gets pissed at this, but he still obliges with her request. revealing that Skinner won the Nobel Prize 3 times but donated all the money to charities. He lived humbly and even abandoned the patents on his inventions so that everyone could get them for cheap. After that, Hirsch joins the group and tells everyone that Skinner was a great advocate for peace and equality. He tried to pursue the world leaders multiple times to do better, but he never got the response he wanted. She shows the team a video of Skinner addressing the United Nations General Assembly, warning them that in 3 years, the ice at the North Pole will have suffered irreparable damage. He asked everyone to focus their efforts on protecting the Earth rather than economic growth, but many countries left the meeting in the middle of his speech. After this failed attempt at convincing the world leaders, Skinner suddenly vanished. The team says that Skinner sounds too good to be true, and then Leland digs up some old social media posts where he was caught helping strangers around the world. No one understands why a good man like this is trying to end humanity, but Hirsch says that it doesn't matter. No one has any clues about Skinner's location since he vanished, and she tells the team that they must be the first ones to find him. Suddenly, Elena interrupts her, saying that she might have found a lead about Skinner. The rest of the group immediately leaves their base in their fancy cars, while Elena and Hirsch stay back at the base. Elena tells everyone that 8 years ago, Skinner brought a survival shelter from a company that cannot be reached through calls or internet right now. Hirsch tells Axel and Chris to check out the shelter and asks Doug and Leland to visit the company headquarters. She then orders Elena to access as many security cameras around the world and run facial recognition scans for Skinner, despite the possibility that he might have changed his appearance in the past 3 years. On one side, Chris asks Axel what he was in prison for and how long was his sentence. As soon as he tells her that he has to stay in prison for 888 years, Chris freaks out and pushes him out of the car. She points her gun at Axel, saying that she is not teaming up with a psycho who has such a big prison sentence. Axel asks her to calm down, and Chris asks what kind of horrible crimes did he commit to deserve that sentence. He tells her that he was initially sentenced to just 3 years in the prison, but it got doubled each time he broke out, and before he realized it, it reached the current number. Chris is completely dumbfounded on hearing this and asks why the hell did he break out of jail so often, and Axel replies that it is his hobby. On the other hand, Leland is curious about how Doug ended up on the team. He replies that he just did some small crimes that landed him in jail, and Leland says that he also did some petty thefts that landed him in trouble. Doug calls him a noob, and then tells him that if there is someone who really committed serious crimes in their team, it is Elena, who was a notorious global hacker. Leland doesn't believe him at first because Elena seems a quiet and shy girl to him, but Doug tells him that she is the biggest wild card in their team. Soon after that, Chris and Axel reach Skinner's Apocalypse shelter, and Leland and Doug reach the company's headquarters. They find that both the places look abandoned, unaware that someone is waiting to ambush them at the company office, and the shelter has already been searched by another party. Doug and Leland enter the company's headquarters and find that the computers were working recently. As Leland tries to search around the place, a man takes him hostage and asks Doug to tell him where their boss is. Doug doesn't understand what the man wants, when suddenly, a fat guy breaks into the building with his gun pointed at Doug, telling the owner of the company to come out if he doesn't want his employees to die. Everyone gets even more confused at this, but then Doug realizes that both the guys here are debt collectors who have business with the owner of the shelter company. On the other hand, Axel and Chris go inside the empty shelter and find that the power generator is still working. They begin searching each room but find nothing, so they continue their search, and then suddenly, they feel that someone is hiding around the corner. They find a man unconscious on a chair with empty bottles of Hapna lying at his feet. They immediately corner him and wonder if he is Skinner after getting plastic surgery, and Axel decides that the only way to find out is to wake him up. However, before they can do that, someone starts shouting in Russian and shooting at them. Axel and Chris hide in a corridor, and then suddenly, another group arrives there, yelling in Mexican and shooting at the Russians. Chris worries about what is going to happen next, but Axel starts enjoying himself. He shows off his pendant, saying that it is his lucky charm that keeps him invincible, and then runs right in the middle of the room, unbothered by the bullet storm. Chris thinks that he is crazy, but she has no choice but to support him in dealing with the gangsters and the cartel members. They manage to knock them all out and reach the guy unconscious in the middle of shelter, but just then, the D and the FBI arrive there to arrest their targets. They tell Axel and Churs to drop their weapons, but Axel tells them that he is from Lazarus and asks them to drop their weapons instead. Everyone gets confused because they have never heard of Lazarus before, and then Chris turns on the lights so that everyone can see what is going on. Just as she does this, the man in the chair wakes up and immediately falls on the ground, apologizing to everyone and promising that he will return their money back. He clings to Axel's leg, begging him to save him, and in return, Axel punches him hard enough to make him bleed. He then does an instant DNA test to confirm that he is not Skinner, and all the parties in the shelter are disappointed. It turns out that the guy was the owner of the shelter company who was hiding from the debt collectors in Skinner's bunker. On the other hand, Leland hits it off with the debt collectors after hearing their stories, and Doug receives a call from Chris telling him what happened at her end. He feels that the search mission is not going to be easy, but he has no idea how difficult it is going to get in just a few minutes. Back at their base, Elena suddenly finds a Skinner on a security camera footage, but then suddenly, thousands of cameras around the world begin showing Skinner's face at the same time, confusing both Elena and Hirsch. Soon, the rest of the team returns to the base, and they find that there are already 100,000 Skinners all over the world, and the number keeps on growing. Doug realizes that someone must have hacked into the security systems and swapped the faces with Skinner, but Elena tells him that it is much more complex than that. All biometric signs and even the thermal imaging of these people are like Skinner. Elena says that she knows only 3 hackers in the entire world who could pull this off, and she is one of them. Everyone is shocked to hear this, but Hirsch tells Elena to find the location of both the hackers so that they can find which one of them is helping Skinner. She also comes up with a theory that if Skinner is trying to confuse them by pasting his face on random people over the internet, it means that he has not undergone plastic surgery and he still looks like he was 3 years ago. Hirsch sends Leland and Chris to investigate Skinner's house for clues, while Doug takes Axel with him to meet his college professor who had worked with Skinner on some projects. Axel fakes his excitement about it and then begins complaining that he would much rather team up with the blondie than him, and Doug returns the sentiment. Chris and Leland soon reach Skinner's house, pretending to be workers from a house cleaning factory. However, a huge crowd has already gathered there, and the cops stop them from entering. Leland simply tells them that if they send them back without doing their job, there will be a cancellation fee, and he is going to send an invoice to them. The cops can't fight against the fear of capitalism, and they let the 2 of them enter the house. Leland and Skinner try to find anything they can while pretending to clean the house, but the only thing they find is a strange pill tucked inside a sofa. On the other hand, Doug finds no clue about his professor at the hospital where he used to work. He learns that the professor has retired, and some rumors talk about him going homeless. Axel tells him that this is his area of expertise, and he can find the professor if he is really living on the streets. He takes Doug to a slum under the bridge and tells him about a guy named Jerry whom he befriended in prison. They start asking everyone about Jerry because he is supposed to be the leader of the homeless community, but no one has heard about him. They tell Axel that their leader is a chick named Jill, but as it turns out, Jill is just Jerry after he decided to tweak his hardware and become a woman. Jill is really glad to meet Axel after a long time, and she immediately takes him and Doug to her place, where they ask her about Professor Claude. Jill stops them from saying more, because she knows that the people here have already suffered a lot in their lives, and they deserve some privacy. She tells Doug that she can't reveal anyone's identity or location without good reason, and he tells her a story about his college where he punched his racist dean. He was expelled because of that, and Professor Claude was the only one who stood up for him. Doug says that he never got to thank him properly for that, and Jill decides to take him to the old man who is struggling in a game of chess. Doug supports him and helps him get a checkmate in 2 turns, and Claude recognizes him as one of his old students. While they decide to catch up on lost time, a teenager challenges Axel to a game of basketball to hustle some cash from him. Professor Claude takes Doug to his tent, ashamed of how far he has fallen, but that doesn't concern Doug. He asks the old man if he knows anything about Skinner's location, and he replies that they have not talked for years. He tells that while Skinner appeared like an honorable genius to the world, in reality, he was so obsessed with his research that he became blind to everything else. Claude says that he couldn't keep up with the madman, so he cut all ties with him, but he remained jealous of his talent and achievements. In order to outdo Skinner, he faked the results of his experiments, and when the university found out, they fired him, which is how he ended up here. He suddenly remembers that Skinner once talked at length about the baklava his grandmother made, and how she lived in a small village in Istanbul. Claude doesn't know if the woman is still alive, but that is enough for Doug to count this mission as a success. He gets up, thanks Claude for standing up for him in the past, and then leaves to find Axel, who has been humbling the arrogant teen for the last 15 minutes. Seeing the look on Doug's face, Axel realizes that he got a clue, and they leave to their base. Once they reach the base, they try searching for Skinner's grandma, but there is no information about her online. Doug suspects that it was erased intentionally, but there is no way to prove that. Suddenly, Elena finds a suspicious location where the crime rate is quite high, but no security cameras are active there. Doug thinks that it can be the place where Skinner is hiding, but Leland and Chris think that it might be a trap. Axel says that the only way to find the truth is to go to the place, and they take the Hyperloop to Istanbul. Axel and Leland go to the field, and the Delulu teen dresses up as a sheikh in order to blend in but stands out even more. Axel doesn't care about that because it only makes his plan of creating trouble and getting attention easier, and soon they are surrounded by a local gang. Axel tells Leland that they need to run, but he finds it difficult to do that in his long flowing gown. Axel comes to rescue him and knocks down a couple of guys before pulling him along. He climbs on a moving bus and then jumps over the tin roofs to escape, but Leland has never done anything like that before, and he falls through a roof, right into the room of a girl playing with her dolls. The dumb girl thinks that Leland is the prince of her stories and invites him to play with her, but then the gangsters come there looking for him. They try to take off his bracelet, thinking it is an expensive watch, and when it doesn't come out, they get ready to chop off his hand. At the same time, Axel also starts looking for him, but then Leland screams that he was just here to eat Grandma Belinda's baklava, and that causes the gangsters to immediately stop their attempts to cut his hand because they know that the old lady's pastries are to die for. The gangsters safely escort Leland and Axel to Belinda's place, and she gives them their share of baklava to send them on the way. She then invites her guests inside, trying to explain that the boys from the hood are just misguided and not bad people. After that, she gives them her famous baklava, and they realize that it is really the best in the world. She then asks them who they are, and Axel decides to be honest with the old lady. He tells her that they are secret agents, and Belinda turns out to be a Bond fan. She accepts the story that Axel tells her and asks if they are here to ask about her grandson. She says that it has been years since she saw him or talked to him, and she never made any attempts to keep their connection hidden as well. She starts telling the boys about her grandson fondly, and then Leland notices a peculiar flower variety that is found only in some special parts of the world. Belinda tells them that Skinner gave it to her in the past. She also tells them that he sent her a video message 3 years ago when he disappeared, and then decides to show it to them. The message has nothing special about it, and Leland says that Skinner doesn't look like the kind of guy who would one day commit the worst massacre in human history. Just then, Belinda tells them that she has got a new batch of baklava ready, and while Leland loses his focus on hearing that, Axel begins looking around the room. He is sure that there is a video camera somewhere in the house because Skinner would know people would come to see his grandma, and he would want her to be safe. He quickly finds the camera and tells Skinner to remember his face because he is the guy who will bust ass. At the same time, in the Lazarus headquarters, Elena finds the trace of one of the hackers, and she decides to return to her glory days to catch him. Soon, the rest of the team assembles at the base, and Hirsch tells them that the hacker they are looking for is called Dr. 909. Cyber cells all over the world have failed to locate him for years, but Elena managed to find his hidden crypto wallet's details. She explains that there have been some shady transactions in the wallet recently, just before Skinner appeared with his message. A large amount of money was deposited in Dr. 909's account by a stock trader named Sam, and everyone is surprised because the amount is quite big by any standard. Hirsch says that Sam owned some Hapna stocks that he sold just before Skinner's message was released and the stock value crashed. He deposited that money in 909's account, which means both of them are connected to Skinner in some way. Elena adds that when Skinner disappeared 3 years ago, all traces of his existence were wiped out, and that would not have been possible without a master hacker's help, and that hacker must have been 909. Doug thinks that 909 helped Skinner in exchange for info on Hapna, and Sam is just the hacker's partner who cashed out the stock before its value fell. Hirsch agrees with that theory, and Axel says that now they just have to capture 909. However, since that is not going to be easy, Hirsch tells the team to capture Sam first while Elena keeps an eye on 909's wallet. They immediately start searching for info on Sam and find that he is a stock trader who likes to throw diddy parties at his club. Everyone cringes on seeing his social media, but in the end, they have to go to his party to get close to him. Since the only thing they know about Sam is that he likes to be surrounded by women, the group makes Leland dress up as a girl to increase their odds. Meanwhile, Elena finds something really suspicious while researching 909's hidden wallet. She discovers that the deposits into his account were made all over the globe, and what is more surprising, they were made using cash. Hirsch thinks that 909 hired people around the world to transfer the money to him, but Elena says that it doesn't make any sense. She explains that 909 would have to meet the people personally and give them an access device so that they could make the deposit. Hirsch tells her to check the security cameras for the atoms where the deposits were made, and she starts looking into it. She finds that the person making the deposits has completely covered his face, and she can't even tell if it is the same person in all the videos. Back in the club, Axel and others get entry to the party, and Doug tells the girls that their mission is to catch Sam's eye and get an invite to his private area. He tells them that once they are in the private zone, they should lure him somewhere secluded. Leland nervously asks what happens if they fail in doing that, and Axel replies they will just kick some ass and kidnap Sam using force. Doug immediately shoots down the idea because they can't risk creating a scene here. With that, they enter the party floor, and Chris immediately forgets about the mission because the party looks lit. She gets excited and hits the dance floor, while Leland nervously hides because he is not comfy with cross-dressing just yet. In the meantime, Doug and Axel scope out the security of the club. Axel tries going to the upper floor, but the guard stops him because he doesn't have VIP access. Just then, a bunch of guys arrive there, and their leader shows a glowing tattoo to the guard that allows him and his friends access to the VIP zone. They return to share the information they have collected, and then Axel goes to Chris, who is ordering expensive cocktails at the bar. Just then, a drunk guy with a VIP tattoo comes there for a drink, and Axel follows him, while Chris rizzes up the bartender to get info about Sam's arrival. Axel follows the drunk guy into the washroom and knocks him out before scanning his tattoo. And at the same time, Doug goes to Leland and asks him why the hell is he hiding in a corner when he is supposed to be acting like a thought and attracting attention. Leland tells him that he is too shy to dance alone and asks Doug to accompany him, and he has no choice but to play along. They enter the dance floor, and Doug immediately steals all the attention with his wacky moves. Leland gets nervous on seeing this, but then suddenly, his cute looks get someone's attention. At the same time, Chris is complaining to Axel that she danced her ass off, but no one picked her. Just then, they get a call from Leland that he was picked, and Axel says that maybe Leland is really the better looking one, and that pisses Chris off. Anyway, she joins Leland and enters the VIP area just as Sam arrives. They try to suck up to him, but he is as obnoxious and arrogant as they thought, and they can barely act interested in him. Leland doesn't even want Sam to touch him, so he moves aside when he tries to put his arm around him. While this rubs Sam the wrong way, his DJ for the night takes an interest in the innocent-seeming Leland. He takes him to the corner and tries making his move, but just then, a waiter comes there and tells him that it is time for him to take the stage. The DJ reluctantly leaves, but asks the waiter to keep an eye on his girl so that she doesn't escape. At the same time, Axel uses the copied VIP tattoo to get access to the higher floor, but the guards get alerted because they figure out that he stole the tattoo from someone. Back in the VIP area, Sam makes all the girls play a drinking game, but the drink was roofied, and they all pass out. He tells his homies to do whatever they want to these gold diggers as he tries to put his hands on Chris, but surprisingly, the drugs have no effect on her. She throws Sam on the ground and then completely obliterates him in hand-to-hand combat as his buddies watch. She then kicks him with full strength, and Sam falls down from the VIP area, landing on top of his DJ. On the other hand, Elena finds that another transaction has just happened in 909's wallet, and the location is near their city. She examines the security footage and finds the man going to the roof of a nearby building. Elena switches to a different camera as she finds the guy walking towards a helicopter on the roof, and she manages to get a clear image of the man who turns out to be the DJ named Visionary. Elena now understands that the reason Visionary could make all these deposits from around the world was because he was on a world tour. She immediately contacts the team and tells them to arrest Visionary because he is their lead. Axel and Doug, who were just about to be arrested by the guards themselves, take this as their clue and start throwing hands, stealing weapons from the guards in the process. Sam and Visionary notice this and immediately run towards the helicopter. Meanwhile, Leland also escapes during the chaos, but the waiter chases after her, so Chris shoots the waiter down and rescues him. Soon, more guards arrive there, and a gunfight between them and Team Lazarus starts. Axel notices that Sam and Visionary are trying to escape in their helicopter, and Leland immediately moves to bring their car around. Axel and others dash towards the helicopter to stop their targets, but the guards are blocking their way. Axel uses Chris as a prop, making her shoot the guards after he runs out of bullets. But by that time, Sam's helicopter has already taken off. Axel is not about to let him go away so easily, so he leaps from the building and grabs the helicopter, much to everyone's shock. Sam orders his helicopter's AI to shake Axel off, but the AI refuses to do such a thing, so he kicks it hard, causing it to malfunction. The helicopter loses balance and starts nosediving towards the city, and Axel somehow avoids a crash by using his legs to change its direction. Meanwhile, Leland and Doug are in the car, chasing after the helicopter. As soon as they see it crashing, Leland sends his jet drone to rescue Axel, who lets go of the helicopter to avoid hitting a crane. Luckily, the drone catches him just in time, and Leland tells him that he has got a gift for him too. Axel pulls out a gun from the drone, and then Leland sends him towards Sam's helicopter, who is confident that he has shaken off all the pursuers. However, when he sees Axel pointing a gun at him from the window, he freaks out and orders his helicopter to ram into him. The AI once again refuses to do so, and Sam kicks the helicopter, causing it to lose balance yet again. Axel dodges the helicopter's blade and then shoots it, causing it to lose balance and crash land in the river. Sam and Visionary come out of the helicopter, but then Axel lands on top of the debris and points his gun at them. They freak out and beg him to spare them, and Axel immediately asks for any information they have about Skinner. They tell him that they don't know anything, and Axel asks how the hell did they know to sell Hapna stocks before the announcement then. Visionary tells Axel that he is the hacker named Dr. 909, and he hacked into the company to find some information that is still stored in his pendant. Axel asks for the pendant, and while Visionary refuses to give it to him, Sam snatches it and passes it to Axel, who kicks the debris down and leaves them to drown. By the time Axel and others reach their base, cops rescue and arrest Sam and Visionary for hacking and insider trading. Doug says that this mission was a bust because these two guys had no relation with Skinner, but Elena says that on the bright side, they got to know that Hapna's parent company, Delta Medicine, knew that their stocks were going to fall. She is sure that they were aware of Hapna's dangers before Skinner's announcement, and that means they are their next cue. They begin forming their theory, and Doug says that Delta Medicines was responsible for the clinical trials of Hapna, so they must know exactly how dangerous Hapna was. Meanwhile, Elena keeps sorting through the files on Visionary's pen drive, and among them, she finds a picture of someone's eye reflecting the stars. No one knows what it means, but Axel thinks it is not important. He suggests that maybe Delta Medicine was conspiring with Skinner and they faked all the test results. Hirsch says that it doesn't matter because the damage is already done, and now they have to find the connection between Skinner and Delta. Just then, Elena finds something strange in the data. She says that someone from Delta has been uploading music to SoundCloud weekly, and the weird part is the music itself. She plays one file, and it sounds like a slinky being thrown downstairs. Well, Doug realizes what is happening and tells Elena to open the audio as an image. She does that quickly, and the file opens up as a document containing the true record of the clinical trials. Hirsch immediately identifies it, but that makes Doug suspicious about her involvement with Delta. Luckily, Chris comes up with a question that takes everyone's attention away. She asks why would someone from Delta be so stupid to upload the trial results on SoundCloud. Elena says that maybe they were sharing the data with someone who wanted to remain hidden, and everyone immediately thinks that it has got to be Skinner. They soon head to the place where the guy who uploaded the music lives, and Leland tries to snoop in on him using his drone. However, the security around the building is tight, and the drone is deactivated mid-flight by a strong electromagnetic field. Chris is watching the place from a tall building, and she reports that they can't even jump to the rooftop using nearby buildings because there is no building taller than this one. Doug adds that the underground parking is also fully automated and not connected to the main building, so they can't find a way through there either. Axel says that one of them should throw a harness towards the building and swing like Spider-Man, and Chris actually likes the idea. However, Doug tells them to stop being idiots and orders that they will wait till nightfall. However, Axel is not in mood to take orders, and he simply walks towards the building. Chris tells him to stop because the building is full of security guards, but he just gives her a wink before entering inside. He uses his smartphone to open the security door and acts suspiciously on purpose, getting the full attention of all the guards in the building. They chase after him, and just as Axel stops in front of the elevator, they surround him on all sides. Axel knows what is coming next, so he just smirks to himself and gets inside the elevator with all the guards. Even before the door closes, one of the guards begins to make his move on Axel, but he stops him because this is not the Pride Month yet. As the door closes, the guards attack him with their batons and tasers, but they are no match for his skill. Axel dances around them, using them against each other in the cramped space, but then the female guard gets on top of him and tries strangling him with her baton. In response, Axel begins pulling her necktie to choke her instead, and after a while of seeing who can choke each other better, Axel manages to get the bitch off of him. Just then, other guards get back up and attack him, but he knocks them out using the baton. Everyone stays down, but the bitch gets up to do her job again. But Axel once again chokes her with the tie, and then walks out of the elevator like nothing happened. He soon reaches the living room of the president of the Delta Company, who is trying to stay awake quite badly. Axel walks behind him and points his cell at his head to make it look like a gun. He tells the man to shut down the security system of his building, and he obeys because of fear. Once the security system is down, Elena hacks into it immediately, and Axel shows the guy the clinical trials of Hapna. He panics on seeing this and asks how did he get this data, and Chris pops up on the screen, telling the president that he uploaded it himself. The man starts bargaining for his life with money, but Axel just wants to know Skinner's location. The president sighs, saying that he is the one who is the most desperate in searching for Skinner. However, he has no clue about his location, and that is why they were using the audio files to send him their data. Doug then asks the president if he knew that Hapna would mutate into a poison after 3 years, and he replies that he had no idea because then he would never have sold the medicine. Doug asks him if he at least confirmed that Hapna is lethal, and the president replies that before they did the clinical trials on humans, they did them on chimps. He says that one of the chimps died a few days ago, and now he can never see the gorilla versus 100 men showdown. He adds that when the chimp died, his eyes became discolored and showed a pattern like a starry night. The president says that humans will be next, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. The researchers at Delta Medicine have put all their time and resources into developing an antidote, but they couldn't even figure out Hapna properly. He says that Skinner is the devil himself, and Axel cockily says that they are the angels that will kick his ass down to hell. He declares that he has a plan that will lure Skinner out for sure. The plan is to declare that Delta Medicines has found a cure for Hapna, and Hirsch goes to her boss to inform him about it. She says that if Skinner knows that a cure for Hapna has been discovered, he will surely come to see if it is real, and then they can catch him. The boss realizes that this is a desperate attempt, but he permits Hirsch to go ahead with it while he makes a paper airplane out of her report. Soon, the preparation for the press conference to declare Hapna's fake cure starts at Delta Medicine. Axel and the rest of the team are on security duty, wondering if Skinner will show up in person, or will he try to use a hacker to find what is going on here. Axel says that maybe he will send a team of mercenaries to break into the building, or he will have an agent on the inside. The president of Delta brings the chief of his security to tell Hirsch that they have checked everything and made sure that there are no traps or bugs in the building. The security chief adds that his men have had their backgrounds checked quite thoroughly, so none of them can be a spy as well. Axel is curious what happens in case Skinner hires a hacker and finds they are lying, and Hirsch tells him that it is Elena's job to stop that. Soon, the team gathers in the security room, where Elena tells them about the 2 types of networks of the Delta Company. One of them is the core network, which handles the confidential information, and the other is the basic network that does the regular data sharing work. She says that the core network is completely isolated from outside attacks physically, so hackers can't get in. But that also means that they can't use their smartphones inside the building, and they need to go old school if they have to call each other. Axel doesn't even pay attention to Elena's lecture and keeps stretching in the background, but she says that since they made the security too tight, any good hacker will take it as a challenge and try to enter the core network. She reveals that she has made the defenses of the basic network weak to lure in the hacker, and once the hacker is in, she will catch them. Soon, the guests start coming, and all of them have to go through a strict security check before entering the building. Doug and Hirsch keep an eye on the situation as well, and then they see a fat guy fumbling the security test because he forgot to deposit his gaming console. Doug gets suspicious of him and asks Hirsch to find out about him. She says that the man is called Patrick, and he is an associate professor at MIT, and one of Skinner's colleagues mentored him when he was in college. This makes Doug sure that something is wrong, and he decides to keep a closer eye on Patrick and follows him to his seat. Meanwhile, the president of Delta Medicines also prepares himself to fight against Skinner. When the meeting starts, he proudly introduces the fake antidote to Hapna, and his team begins explaining how it works. But some people get nervous on hearing this. A guy leaves for the washroom because of a stomach ache, and Doug tells the guards to keep an eye on him. Just then, Elena gets a hit on the trap she had set, and she immediately tracks the hacker's location to the Arctic. She tries finding more about him, but finds that he has cleverly hidden it from everyone. Just then, the lights go out in the conference room, and Elena realizes that the hacker has not targeted the building from the outside, but from the inside. She tells everyone to find the hacker quickly, and also bring back the electricity. Axel immediately goes after the guy who went to the toilet, but the poor old man was really just dropping a log in the toilet. In the meantime, Leland and the guards check the electricity control room, and they find no problem there as well. This confuses everyone, but then suddenly, a guy starts running towards the stage in the conference room. He smashes the case in which the fake cure is being displayed and injects himself with it, laughing that now he is not going to die. The guards tackle him and arrest him, but the man tells them that he doesn't care because now Delta Medicines can't monopolize the cure. Doug bursts his bubble by telling him that the medicine was just saline solution with green food coloring, and then shuts the door on his shocked face. It turns out that the hacker is a plus-sized girl sitting in a cozy room. She goes all out and makes the escalators, the doors, and even the taps go out of control. Elena quickly reprograms the system to stop her, and the hacker gets even more excited about beating her now. She raises the temperature in the control room by hacking the AC, and when the workers open the door to get out, she gets further inside the system. The hacker gets into the core network, and Elena finds that they are being attacked from 50 different points. She immediately realizes that it is the same number as the guards and concludes that they are being hacked through their walkie-talkies. Axel confronts the chief of security about it, and he replies that the manufacturer of the walkie-talkie recently recalled the previous batch because of some error and sent them the new ones with better features instead. Elena's theory is verified, but she still doesn't know how to stop the hacker. But then she decides to use her secret weapon. She stops protecting the core network and reveals a fake antidote formula for the hacker to steal. However, the formula contains a virus that tells her that the hacker is located in the Pakistan Stock Exchange and is using the high bandwidth to attack them. Hirsch immediately uses her contacts to get the Pakistan police to raid the stock exchange, but it is completely empty because it is midnight and the hacker is actually traveling in a van. She heads to the mountains after succeeding in her mission and opens the cure formula file, but the virus completely takes over her laptop, so she decides to ditch it. Once she does that, Elena can't track her anymore and she loses hope. Luckily, the building's system returns to normal because of that. Elena is depressed because she lost against a hacker, but just then, she receives a call from the same hacker, who turns out to be Popcorn Wizard, the third legendary hacker who is on the same level as her. Elena nervously picks up the call and Popcorn Wizard gives her major props for almost busting her. She tells her to try better next time and cuts the call, but that gives Elena to do her best going forward. The next day, Doug comes to their base with an old magazine and Chris asks if he found it in his grandfather's stash because no one uses paper anymore. Doug tells her that this is a spiritual magazine from 15 years ago and it talks about a researcher from MIT visiting a communion. That researcher is none other than a young Skinner, and everyone is surprised to see him. Hirsch picks up the magazine and reads that Skinner, a young and relentless researcher, was heavily impressed by the ideals of the communion. She drops the magazine just after reading that, and Axel asks if this is some sort of clue. Doug explains that the communion that Skinner visited is a full-blown religion now, and it is called the Tower of Truth. Elena gets startled on hearing that name, but tells Doug to continue with his presentation. He says that the Tower of Truth worships an AI software that they believe has achieved perfection and reached godhood. Everyone thinks that it is a stupid idea to call an AI software a god, but Doug continues his report, saying that the followers of the Tower of Truth claim to live happy lives, but they are completely isolated from the outside world. He says that their base looks like the perfect place for Skinner to hide, but Axel bets that he won't be there. In response, Leland bets that they can find Skinner at the base, but Hirsch tells them to shut up. She then asks Elena if she can hack into the AI system of the tower. Elena refuses, saying that Naga is completely isolated from the outside world, so she can't access it. Doug asks what is Naga, and she replies that it is the name of their AI software, and she knows about it because she grew up in the Tower of Truth. This is a surprise for everyone, but then Hirsch says that if they can't access the system from outside, they need to infiltrate it. Elena says that if she tells the people there that she wants to return home, they will gladly accept her. Chris and Doug are against her going alone because it will be too dangerous for her, and they suggest that she takes someone to support her inside. Elena says that the people at the tower will suspect adults, but if it is kids who want to join them, they will let down their guards. This means Leland has to be Elena's partner, and he has no choice in the matter. Soon after that, Doug and Axel drive the group to the base of the tower, but they stop at a safe distance to avoid being detected. Doug tells Leland and Elena that the three of them will stay at a hotel nearby, waiting for their messages. He asks them to inform them immediately if they find Skinner, and if they don't hear from them within 72 hours, they will carry out a rescue mission. Axel gives Leland a flare for the same, and then Chris asks him to take care of Elena. With that, the two of them head inside the base of the Tower of Truth, where everyone keeps staring at them. Elena keeps her head down because she is still not comfortable with the idea of being back here, but then one of her old friends identifies her. The girl named Hannah comes running to her and tightly hugs her, welcoming her home. Elena introduces her to Leland, and then Hannah leads them to the main temple, where they are welcomed by Carla, Elena's mother. There is clearly a lot of emotional distance between them, but Carla hugs her, claiming that she always knew she would return because the outside world is filthy and evil. Just then, the leader of the cult, Billy, arrives there to welcome Elena and Leland, and says that it must be the blessing of God Naga that they returned just in time for the festival. Later, Hannah takes Leland and Elena to the dorm where she confiscates all their electronic items that are connected to the internet. She says that the outside world is full of fake information which easily misleads people, and they should stay away from it. She then says that Lord Naga will protect everyone here and wishes that the people outside also awaken from their brainwashing. At night, Leland wakes up and goes outside, trying to reach the team using his bracelet, but he can't call them. Elena also comes there, and Leland tells her that they need to find another way to communicate with the team because there are jammers all over the place that make using satellite connections impossible as well. On the other hand, Doug contacts Hirsch, asking her to access the files about other researchers that studied in MIT at the same time as Skinner. She says that she will do that, but then warns Doug that the FBI is also on the move, and they are trying to find more about the Tower of Truth. After the call ends, Doug goes outside, where Chris is worried about Elena and Leland, but Axel doesn't give a shit, and he is running laps around the parking lot instead. Back inside the cult, Leland asks Elena about the woman named Carla. He could tell that she was her mother, but he wants to know why they were so awkward. Elena says that in the tower, everyone is considered family, and they have to forget any blood relations for that. She can't even call her mom, but Carla doesn't care because all she thinks about is their AI god. Leland asks about her father, and Elena says that she doesn't even know his name. She begins sulking, saying that Leland must find her weird now, and he can't think of any reply that will make her feel better. The next day, Hannah gives them a tour of the facilities around the cult. She says that everything from food to clothing to tools is made from scratch by the people here. Also, there is no concept of money inside the cult, so they have to rely on the barter system and help everyone in need. After that, they go to have breakfast where Hannah eagerly asks them what did they do in the outside world to earn money. Leland begins telling her that he has a part-time job looking for cats, and he met Elena there. He then suddenly starts recalling the horrible experiences he has had ever since he became a member of Team Lazarus, from being taken hostage to dressing as a girl. Just then, Billy comes there to start the prayer before the breakfast, and then he tells everyone to start eating. Leland hesitates on eating a weird purple soup that honestly looks like Thanos cream, but Billy keeps pushing him and he has to swallow it in the end. On the other hand, Axel is still goofing around while Doug has found more information about the AI system Naga that the Tower of Truth worships. He tells Chris that Naga was a neural network developed at MIT 15 years ago. Chris asks what a neural network is, and he explains that it is an AI system based on the activity of a human's brain. The human they based the Naga AI on was none other than Skinner, and they were able to control its ego and other parts of human psychology during the test runs. Doug says that this fact may be irrelevant to their mission, but what is seriously concerning is that the FBI is on the move too, and they need to be faster than them to solve the case. Back in the cult, Leland and Elena have been pretending to be faithful believers, but when they find no clue about Skinner, Leland declares it is time for Plan B. He tells Elena that they need to hack into the Naga system and find any clues they can, but Hannah overhears their discussion. Later at night, Leland and Elena head to the building where the AI core is located, and they can access it through their bracelets. They cut off the power supply, making the guards go outside to check it, and then sneak into the core room. Elena plugs into the Naga system and accesses its memory files, but just then, Billy arrives there because Hannah snitched. Leland grabs Elena's hand and tries to run away, but he finds that they are surrounded on all sides. Billy declares that the two of them are still impure, and on the day of the festival, they will be purified in front of God Naga as a symbol of this world's filth. Meanwhile, Doug receives a file from Hirsch and learns that Billy was actually a researcher in Meti, who was working on the Naga AI system. He stole the system from Mit and brought it to the cult, quickly establishing as their new god. After that, he increased his influence on his followers and cut off communication from the outside world. While Doug and Chris wonder what to do with this information, Axel comes there and says that since Naga is a copy of Skinner, maybe it wants to destroy the world too. Back in the cult, Elena and Leland are thrown into a prison cell. He asks her what is the purification and the holy festival that Billy mentioned earlier, and she replies that she has no idea about the festival because it was not started in her time. However, she knows about purification in which people are taken somewhere and they never return. She thinks that they are exiled, but just then, Hannah comes there and tells her that the sinners are not exiled but burnt alive. She tells them that this is what they deserve for breaking the rules and starts walking away. But Elena stops her, asking if she is fine letting her friend die. Hannah suddenly starts saying that she has always been jealous of her. She says that Elena always did what she wanted, while she was trapped here, obeying orders. She suddenly lashes out, throwing dirty water on her, saying that she left her alone here. Elena tells her friend that they can escape this place together this time, but Hannah tells her that she cannot live in the outside world. Elena tells her that she used to think the same too, but now she knows it is not the truth. Hannah refuses to believe her, but then Leland tells her that he has a flare in his bag. He says that if she has the courage to take one step towards her freedom, she should use it. But Hannah runs away without giving him an answer. The next day, the Holy Festival begins and Leland and Elena are tied to the stake to be burned. As Billy yells loudly that the sinners will be purified, the scaffolding is lowered, and the two of them start feeling the heat. However, Hannah takes the leap of faith and uses the beacon, releasing a red smoke that surprises everyone. Axel was constantly watching over the cult base for this, and he tells Doug and Chris that they need to move immediately. As they ride out towards the base, the people in the cult panic, wondering what the red smoke is. The uneducated morons think that this is proof that God Naga is furious, but Billy realizes what is happening, and he tells everyone to follow him to the main temple quickly. Once the people have gathered, Billy presses a self-destruct button, locking down the temple and setting it on fire, telling the followers that today is the day that they offer their souls to their god. Outside, Axel and others reach the cult, and at the same time, the FBI also arrives there. They quickly help Elena and Leland down from the scaffolding, but Elena asks them to do something about the people trapped inside because they are going to die. Inside the temple, Billy is still consumed by his delusions as the fire and smoke causes many people to pass out. He asks God Naga to show him the way, but it is just an AI system at the end of the day, and it falls from its frame because of the fire and crushes Billy. Soon, the FBI sends its full force to handle the situation and even puts out the fire using helicopters. The injured people are taken away to a hospital, and Elena can just watch as she sees her mother being carried on a stretcher. Nearby, Hannah is also carried out, and Leland runs to her, thanking her for saving them. After everyone has been evacuated, Axel goes inside the temple and finds that the Naga AI has been destroyed. He asks what was its purpose after all, and the AI responds in Skinner's voice, saying that it was given the command to become a god, and for that, it needed to manipulate the lives of humans. Axel is not impressed by the answer, so he calls it a piece of junk and walks away with the memory unit of the AI system, and Doug starts analyzing it as soon as they reach their base. A couple days later, everyone gathers at the roof of their base to enjoy some barbecue. While Chris, Leland, and Doug skewer meat and veggies, Axel works on a device. Chris starts playing a game where she guesses the age of everyone in the team, and she says that Axel looks 28 while Doug looks 40, though both of them are 23. Leland tries to guess her age, but Chris hides it, so he decides to call her auntie just to poke fun at her. When they are done stacking the veggies, Axel decides to start the barbecue using the flamethrower he found in the garage, but instead of lighting up the grill, he blows it up. Anyway, they forget about the little disappointing accident and return to work. While the memory chip from Naga AI is being analyzed, they turn on the TV, and all the channels are displaying the same thing, which is the melting of the last large iceberg in the Antarctica. While the group is not really concerned with the vanishing ice caps and global warming, Leland has something interesting for them. He shows them a video of Skinner when he delivered a speech at the United Nations, and in the speech, he predicted that the ice in the Antarctic will melt in exactly 3 years. He was dead on the money because it is exactly 3 years since the day he made the speech. Everyone is shocked to hear that, and Leland says that more and more people are siding with Skinner online right now. Doug says that World War III is on the table as well because once Skinner made predictions about that too. Chris jokes that maybe humanity will be destroyed by World War III before Hapna can kill everyone, but Leland doesn't find it funny. Just then, Hirsch enters the room and starts a meeting. She says that they are back to square one because the FBI couldn't find anything related to Skinner in the Tower of Truth. Even the AI system modeled after his brain is not connected to him in any way, so they have no lead. Doug says that they should go back to the basics, and while everyone is paying attention to him, Axel is still trying to eat the ruined barbecue. Anyway, they decide to watch the video clip of Skinner again to find his motives. In the video, Skinner declares that he is not here to declare humans as unfit to live, but instead, he is here as the seventh trumpeter. Chris pauses the video and asks what is the seventh trumpeter, and Hirsch explains that it is from the book of Revelation in the New Testament. According to the book, in the future, when God gets angry at humans, he will send all sorts of disasters to Earth. The angels will blow their horns to warn humans about it, and when the seventh angel blows his trumpet, the day of judgment will start. Now that everyone is updated on the lore, Chris asks when did the first to 6 trumpets get blown. No one has any answer to the question, but just then, the analyzing device beeps because it has finished processing Naga's memory. Doug goes to check it, but then he grows suspicious as he sees Leland walking out of the room. Soon, all of them gather around the memory chip and wonder what are the numbers being shown on it. Doug can only tell that it is the last thing Naga AI thought of, and everyone has different theories. Axel thinks it is some kind of phone number, and he tries calling it immediately, while Elena tries to decode it in hope to find a hidden message. Doug thinks that it is pointing to some coordinates on the map, and he turns out to be right. The numbers on the memory chip point to 4 locations around the world, but all of them are at the sea. While everyone wonders what this means, Hirsch realizes that all these locations were once islands, and they were predicted to sink as the sea level rises because of global warming. Elena does some research on that online and finds that Skinner bought all these islands before they sank. Everyone wonders why would he go to such lengths, and why would Naga be thinking about that. But Axel says that they should look at the locations to find more about Skinner's plan. Hirsch immediately gets permission from her boss to send the team to the 4 locations because it is the best bet they have, and he agrees but asks her to meet him in private. Soon after that, 4 members of the team head to the 4 locations, while Elena stays back at the base to supervise and coordinate them. Doug goes to Manila in Philippines, which has completely sunk and the water level is rising enough to threaten the areas around it. He ditches his car once he reaches the place where the water has covered the road and then starts out on foot, making deals with junkies in order to reach his destination. On the other side, Axel is in the Maldives, which has also almost sunk. Luckily, he quickly finds a boatman who agrees to take him to the point on the map. Back at the base, Elena gathers all the snacks she can find because there is actually nothing for her to do but relax, and she might as well take a break. Meanwhile, Leland has reached Ishigaki Island in Japan, where he eagerly signals to the workers at the tourism board that he wants to hire a boat for himself. However, the worker points out that he needs a minimum of 10 guests to hire a boat, but there is no one around, so he just begs the lady innocently. At the same time, Chris is in full party mode in Fiji, and she buys an electric boat instead of begging or borrowing. Elena watches their visuals as they head to their positions, and everyone reports that they will reach the exact coordinates around 10 minutes. But Chris has already reached her point, so she decides to go scuba diving. However, another high-speed boat passes nearby, causing her to lose her balance, and she wonders what is their deal. Soon, the others also reach their location and find nothing special at first glance. Leland suddenly asks if Team Lazarus will be disbanded once they find Skinner. Doug affirms, saying that once they have achieved their goal, there will be no need for them to stay together, and Leland replies that it seems like a waste. After that, all of them dive into the sea, but they don't find anything. Chris says that it has been so long since she saw a clear sea and blue sky like this, and others agree with her because the city is too polluted and the skies are always gray. She wonders if Skinner wanted them to see how places remain beautiful without humans ruining them. She turns into a philosopher as she floats on the water and begins crying, thinking that humans are about to die soon, but the world will remain. On the other side, Axel comes out of the sea too without finding anything. But he notices that his boatman has a fresh injury on his face. He asks him about it, and the boatman replies that a flying fish just hit him. Axel asks if it hurts, and the man replies that ever since he was born, he has been immune to diseases and pain. Axel asks if he has ever taken Hapna, and the boatman tells him that there was no need for that because people around these parts are naturally immune to pain. Axel immediately informs the team about this, and the boatman eagerly tells that when he was little, Skinner came to their island. He bought the island and gave them money to move to a safer place, and they gladly took it. Doug immediately orders Alina to check the cash flow of other islands as well. She soon finds out that Skinner came to the island 15 years ago to take some DNA samples, and he did the same on the other 3 islands as well. Doug says that the DNA is undoubtedly linked to the development of Hapna and asks where was the research on them done. Elena says that it was done at the Haggis Research Center, but it is now closed. She decides to find the details of researchers working there at that time. Meanwhile, Axel and Leland begin talking about how they are following Skinner's footsteps, and maybe he wanted them to see the world like he did so they could feel the same way as him too. Doug doesn't truly believe that, but he knows that Skinner has them under his control. At the same time, Hirsch is visiting an art museum with her boss, who wants to talk about some important things. He first apologizes to her because she might think that he is using her feelings for Skinner to keep her on the mission. However, Hirsch tells him that she doesn't feel that way, and she wants to find Skinner no matter what. Her boss then tells her that the federal agencies have started looking into Axel because technically, he is still an escaped prisoner, and Hirsch asks him to do whatever he can to protect Axel, because he is necessary for this mission. Soon, they reach a painting titled The Resurrection of Lazarus, and the boss asks Hirsch the main question. He wants to know if she thinks that Skinner sold his soul to the devil or something happened to make him turn evil, but she doesn't agree with that. She says that Skinner is still the same man she always knew. She says that he was always too sincere, and even right now, he is doing things as sincerely as he can. She believes that he also wants to be found because he has not lost hope in humanity, and her boss hopes that she is right. Back at the base, Elena finally gets a list of the researchers working at the research station at the same time as Skinner, and she is shocked to see Hirsch's name on the list. Meanwhile, it is already night at Chris's location, and as she returns from her mission, she spots some people nearby. She doesn't pay them any mind, but then a girl with lesbian haircut walks right in front of her, and she freezes in fear. She tries to walk away as quickly as possible, but the girl stops her and calls her Alexandra with a pitiful expression on her face that quickly turns into a mean smirk. Soon, the rest of the team assembles at the base. Leland is the last one to return from his mission, and he is really surprised to see how gloomy the mood of the room is. He asks where is Chris, and before Hirsch can start telling them about some important news, Doug interrupts her because he has something more important he wants to discuss. He tells Hirsch that they found that Skinner developed Hapna at the Haggis Research Institute, and when they tried to find who else worked there at the same time, they found her name. Leland is surprised to see this, but Axel acts like he suspected that Hirsch and Skinner were buddies all along. Doug asks Hirsch if she has a good reason why she kept this a secret from them. She gets up, saying that she knew someone would find out about her past sooner or later. She explains that not only was she working in the same research institute, she was a part of the team led by Skinner that developed Hapna. However, shortly before the miracle medicine was completed, Skinner vanished without a trace, and he didn't even say goodbye to anyone. That incident left her devastated, and she left the research institute shortly after Hapna was completed. And 3 years later, when Skinner reappeared, he brought the news of humanity's end with him. Doug then asks her who she is really working for now, and Hirsch says that she works under the NSA now, and she was chosen to lead this task force because of how well she knows Skinner. Axel realizes that they are not superheroes, but just a team of scapegoats for when things go wrong, and Leland says that he doesn't get what they are talking about, and maybe they should wonder where Chris is. Turns out, Chris has been captured and taken to an abandoned oil rig in the Arctic. As she is tied to a chair and thinks about her situation, a Russian mobster enters the room and starts smacking the shit out of her, calling her a traitor. Just then, the tomboy mommy Inca arrives there and tells him to stop, because she plans to kill Chris with her own hands for running away from their team. Luckily, the team can track her location through the bracelet, and they know that she is at an abandoned oil rig. Leland asks why would Chris go there, and Hirsch says that the oil rig is most likely a base of the Russian intelligence agency, and Chris has been captured by Russian special forces. Everyone is shocked to hear this, but Hirsch has more shocking news about Chris. She reveals that Chris was once a Russian agent too, but she defected and joined Team Lazarus. She changed her name and even had plastic surgeries to change her appearance. But even then, she knew the risk she was taking and asked Hirsch to make sure that her bracelet kills her in 3 days if she loses contact with them. Meanwhile, Inca examines Chris's face and tells her that no matter how many surgeries she gets, she will always recognize her stubborn eyes. She talks about how shocked she was when she heard Chris died in an airport accident 3 years ago. However, since her body was never found, Inca believed that she had actually escaped, and she waited for a chance to find her again. She then tells Chris that she will make her suffer till she dies a slow and agonizing death, and no one will come to rescue her because she is a traitor. Inca couldn't be more wrong, as Axel immediately decides to head out to rescue her, despite Hirsch warning him that facing the Russian special forces is a suicide mission. Even when she tries reasoning that Chris might have gone back to the Russians herself, Axel refuses to believe her and sets out immediately. The rest of the team also follows him, and Doug tells Hirsch that if she doesn't like the plan, she can use the bracelets to kill all of them. On the other hand, Chris tells Inca that she has no clue about Skinner because she is sure that her team is also searching for him. Inca doesn't believe her, but then her subordinate pulls her outside and says that they should report this to the headquarters. Inca refuses, saying that this is her personal problem, and this pisses out the gym bro, who takes out his anger on Chris. Meanwhile, Axel and others reach Norway, but they can't find any connecting flights that will lead them near Chris. They panic because the roads are also closed because of terrible weather, and almost 2 days have passed since Chris vanished, which means they don't have long to save her. As they wonder what they should do, they suddenly get a call from Hirsch, who tells them to wait at the airport because the European Union military will take them to the location by a helicopter. She has also talked with the Norway government and arranged a place from where Elena can work safely. She then says that this rescue mission is off the records, but she doesn't want to lose Chris. Soon, the helicopter takes them to a research station near the oil rig, and Elena sets up her office there with the help of the researchers. Meanwhile, Axel and others take a ship to the oil rig. They soon reach the location and hide in a ship disguised as a chunk of floating ice. Inside the rig, the big guy keeps beating the shit out of Chris, but she taunts him, saying that a beta male like him can only beat up a tied woman. He gets furious at this and tells Chris that no matter what she says, he won't untie her, and she mocks him further, saying he is smarter than his dumbass face suggests. Outside, Leland sends out his seagull-shaped drone to scout the rig, and finds 6 Russian soldiers standing guard. Axel dives into the water and enters the rig through an unguarded opening following Elena's instructions, and then Doug drives the big ship towards the rig, distracting the Russian agents. As Inca leaves to deal with the ship that has entered their territory, Axel sneaks into the control room and uses his bracelet to grant Elena the access to the personal network. On the other hand, the big guy has had enough of Chris taunting him, and he decides to kill her even if it means going against Inca's orders. But then suddenly, Inca calls everyone on board to deal with the rogue ship heading in their direction. He tells everyone to head out because he is going to deal with the bitch and join them later. At the same time, Axel manages to grant the network access to Elena, and she begins working her magic, much to the amusement of the people at the research station. Immediately after that, the huge ship collides into the oil rig and explodes, shaking everyone off their feet. The muscle-headed bastard is also distracted by this, and taking advantage of this chance, Chris attacks him. He gets even more angry at this and tries slamming her into the wall, but Chris channels her inner Black Widow to use his momentum against him, and crashes his throat with a powerful kick before freeing herself. She runs out of the room with that, and Elena spots her. She immediately alerts Axel about her location, and he uses his Parker skills to reach her quickly. But then Chris changes her direction because of some guards in her way. Meanwhile, Elena takes control of the crane on the rig and uses it to whip away the Russian agents into the sea. At the same time, Axel rushes ahead with Leland backing him up with his drone. Axel manages to take 2 soldiers around the corner down quickly, and then Doug also supports him by sniping the enemies from his boat. One guy tries shooting Doug, but as he follows his boat, his attention suddenly goes to the poorly hidden boat where Leland is hiding. Meanwhile, the big guy spots Axel fighting some of his soldiers, so he waits around the corner to ambush him. He strikes Axel in the head with a metal pipe, knocking him down, and then points his gun at him. Just then, another soldier comes from behind, cornering Axel on both sides, but Leland crashes his seagull drone into the soldier, knocking him out. That is enough to distract the musclehead, and Axel manages to disarm him. However, even then, he struggles in a fist fight against him and gets thrown off the building. At the same time, some soldiers shoot the boat Leland is hiding in, setting it on fire. Leland jumps out right before the boat explodes, and Doug immediately goes to rescue him. Meanwhile, Elena rescues Axel before he can fall into the sea and sends him back to the rig to continue fighting. As he takes down some enemy soldiers with a stolen gun, he suddenly runs into Chris, who collapses just as she sees him. Axel tells her that everyone is here to take him home, and Chris tells him that they shouldn't have come because she doesn't deserve to be saved. Axel replies that he doesn't care about her past, and he is here for the person she is now. He leads her through the building, but then spots some guards in the way, so he asks her to stay back while he deals with them. However, moments after Axel leaves, Inka comes there and points a gun at Chris, saying that she has been dreaming of killing her for the past 3 years. Chris has given up on fighting, and she asks her to shoot because she would be proud to die at the hands of the woman she loved. Inka's resolve is shaken to its core on hearing this, and then Chris tells her that she changed her name and her face, but she couldn't change her heart, and the moment she saw her, she froze. Inka gets emotional as the emotional tension rises between them, and asks Chris why did she run away 3 years ago. Chris tells her that back then, she was really caught in the accident and her vitals stopped. The doctors put her name on the victims list,